Yeah, my name is Joanne Martin and I come from the north of Glasgow in the area of Postle Park. I decided I wanted to do medicine probably when I was about 15 to 16 years old, so it was quite late because it's not really sort of an ambition that people from my area sort of have at a young age. You know, no one really knows about university, no one really knows sort of what's out there and what opportunities are there. So before you start, actively looking for yourself, you're not really aware of it. So probably a lot later than most other candidates that were going to apply. But yeah, I was really interested and I was looking at a whole range of careers in healthcare before I decided to, medicine was what I wanted to do.
And was there anybody in your family or anybody that you knew were in medicine at all?
No one in my family had even finished school or went to university, never mind was a doctor, so before I started looking into it, I had no sort of guide in any direction, I was sort of just a blank page really, if you like, and sort of, yeah. Being rejected by all the universities was quite tough because I thought and I felt really like they weren't really paying attention to any sort of to my context at all. The things they were asking for was, I never even had the possibility to do it, so is in a way that I couldn't fulfil what they were asking for because they didn't really know anything about me, and it was all sort of, you were just sort of sieved through the process, and because it is a sort of different, you have different circumstances than most other people that apply, that's just, sort of forgotten about. The challenges are not really recognised. I don't think they want to put them in the way, but they don't really know that they exist in the first place. I felt really disappointed when I was rejected, actually. It took a while to get over the sort of initial disappointment and to pick myself back up again. Yeah, just really, really disappointed and quite frustrated as well because I just felt that I wasn't being listened to. I would email all the admissions teams across the board, every single university in Scotland, and one would reply and the reply would be very vague and say the same to every single candidate, so they weren't even recognising sort of my circumstances in order to help me improve my application. That was really tough because it's kind of like everyone gravitates to suggesting different pathways when you are rejected, so everyone was like, oh, you can do this or you can do this, and I think it's important to listen to what people have got to say to you because they do want to help you, but I think it's also important if you need to listen to yourself, and if it's not what you want to do, then it's not worth your time. So I think, yeah, when everyone was suggesting other ideas, I was just like, no, it's not what I want, so I'm going to just try again. You've got nothing to lose, sort of thing. The worst that's happened has already happened, so.
So would you say that it was your persistence and determination that kept you going?
Yeah, definitely. At that point, there was no one really behind me suggesting that I go again. Everyone was like, oh, do something else, you're just going to waste your time. But I thought, no, because there's no reason that I shouldn't get in. I'm just as good as everyone else, so there's no reason that I can't get in. And if I have to force my way in and apply 10 times, then I'll apply 10 times because it's what I want to do and it's worth it.
So where does that come from, that determination and persistence?
I'm not really sure. I don't really know. I think it's because we have really good opportunities in this country, and I think some people don't make the most of them. If you were to come from a developing country, like Malawi, Ghana, whatever, and I've been to those places and I've seen exactly what it's like. Everyone's, really hungry for a good education and to do what they want to do. But and in this country, sometimes I think, even though the challenges are there, and that's some of the reasons that people don't go into, university or college or apprenticeships. But I think you've got to make the most of your opportunities and what you've got. And I think if you don't, then it's, you're the sort of fault in the system, not the system. I think when you've got disappointment and you do need to keep going, you need to sort of stop the clock and start it again. That's the way that I like to sort of navigate it. What's happened, it's happened. You can't change it. All you can really do is sort of try and tailor the future and tailor the next sort of chapter of it, if you like. So I think it's important to obviously, have that sort of period of disappointment, because then it just basically shows how much you want it, and it sort of increases the drive for me. I do get disappointed, but it doesn't really last. You've got to sort of turn that into a way that you can, make yourself better and just kind of go with a bit more force, I think. At the start, I think when you tell people you sort of, you know, all your ambitions and all your hopes and goals and stuff, everyone is like, oh yeah, that's fine. But then when it does get tough and you've been rejected across the board, there's not really many people that's left behind you. But I had one very good teacher, a chemistry teacher, and she was like, you know, if it's what you want, try again. What's the worst that can happen? So I think, yeah, she's probably the one that's, yeah, encouraged me to keep going, I think.
And what would her name be?
Fran.
Fran?
Yeah.
Fantastic. So she was the person that gave you that extra wee oomph push?
Yeah, I think so, yeah. And sort of myself in a sense as well. I'm quite persistent, so I think, you know, it's not in a bad way, but I think just seeing all the challenges there and seeing clearly to me that the system is favoured towards certain people, like, I think, you know, you've got a responsibility. I think it's your duty to sort of stand up for people, and if you know the sort of insights, people don't see that. So I don't really see, you know, like being an active citizen, that's not really a choice, that's a sort of personal responsibility that you've got to bring to the table, I think. And if people don't do that, the challenge, it just stays the same. You know, you're not, if you don't speak out and you don't sort of keep going at it, nothing changes, and it's just the same for everyone else. Yeah, I think there is an advantage in being disadvantaged. I think you have that sort of, that more wealth of experience. I think for me, you know, when I go into medicine, I'll know the sort of challenges that most people are facing. So all the drug usage, the alcohol misuse, all that sort of thing. Like, sometimes even in my own family I've experienced that. So I think that's, you know, a slight edge that you have that some people don't. And I don't think, you know, you can't really choose where you come from, but that, it can help you where you're going. And I think you also have a bit more of a drive, I think. For me, definitely. I think if I didn't really come from Postle Park, I wouldn't have that sort of feistiness and that sort of, you know, you're going to listen to me because I've got something to say, and if I need to say it 10 times, I will, until you do listen and take it on board. I think all of it, again, is about listening to yourself. I think throughout the full sort of process, there's so many people that will tell you what to do and what to be and how to do it. And that's fine if they, you know, everyone usually has your best interest, but if it's not what you want, don't waste your time, because at the end of the day, you'll have someone else's success and it won't be your own, and you won't enjoy it as much as, you know, you could get half of what you want or completely what someone else wants, and it still won't add up. You know, you've got to just listen to yourself and do what you want to do and drive towards that.
And what about kind of Facebook, Twitter, that sort of stuff? How do you manage that?
I think it's important to have your own life. You know, you don't become this sort of advocate of like free will and peace and stuff. You can still have your own sort of life. Like, I've got a Facebook account and I've got a Twitter account, and sometimes, you know, when people from Glasgow City Council tweet things and I don't agree with it, I'll tweet them about it. It's not initiating an argument. I sort of see it as spreading the message. You know, I've written to newspapers, I've posted on my own Facebook, my own Twitter account, sort of some of the challenges that I've experienced, but only to help other people, I think. And you should use everyone else's experiences when trying to make your own bid. I think, like, there's loads of articles that I've read about people in the same situation as me that's found it difficult to get in, and reading about some of the things that they've done has definitely helped me get in. So I think it's the same sort of, you know, you've got to speak out, not only sometimes to help yourself, but to definitely help other people that are going to come after you, and they're going to sort of learn from your experiences and make the most of that. I think dealing with failure is a difficult one, like, because you are going to be disappointed and you're going to be frustrated and angry, and sometimes you do just want to give up, but you can basically do nothing, do something, or just run away, I think. And you know, you probably consider all of them when you're at the sort of lowest and you've been full out rejected and everyone's saying no and no one really wants you. But I think, yeah, just keeping persistent, just doing what you want to do and trying again. Like, I've been rejected 8 times now from different universities, 8 rejections, and then I got 1 place. But you only need 1 chance, you know, you only need 1 door, you don't need every single one of them to open. Success. I think success for me is just about being happy. If I can you know, what I want to do is I want to move to a developing country and work within, you know, like different sort of areas, villages and urban cities and stuff. And I think for me, doing that, that's enough for me. You know, I don't need to sort of become Nicola Sturgeon or be this, or that's sort of my success. So I think working maybe in like African rural villages, sort of providing maybe vaccines for like typhoid, or doing research into kwashiorkor and stuff, different illnesses that are totally preventable but are just completely forgotten about, because I think it's again the same situation. If you're at the bottom, no one really cares. So it's the same, like, you know, with Ebola as well, don't put this in, but with the Ebola situation, it was poor African people that are dying, so let's not bother about them. And it's the same with the education system here. It's the poor kids from Postal and from Castlemilk. They're not really going to do anything anyway, so we don't really need to invest in them because they're not going to make much of themselves. So let's just forget about them and we'll focus on something else. And that's ridiculous. Some kids, you know, in Africa who can't afford an education, they could be the ones to sort of cure cancer. And they just don't have the chance. They're not going to get the chance unless, you know, someone actively goes out. You can send money and you can send whatever else you want to Africa, but that's not going to change anything. You need people there, and you need sort of that persistent guidance. You know, I was volunteering in a Ghanaian village, and the closest hospital was 3 hours away, and that's ridiculous. But no one in that village thought to stand up to the government. No one thought, you know, maybe we should all sort of protest for a sort of clinic here. And I think if they did, they would have got it, because I wouldn't have let, you know, if it was your kid, would you let your kid live in an area that the hospital was 3 hours away? No, you wouldn't. So why is that good for anyone else? If it's not good enough for your own kid, it shouldn't be good enough for anyone in your city or your country or whatever. My future in 3 words. Probably ambitious, exciting, and I don't know, maybe motivating. I think for me, like, all the experiences that I've had now would just sort of encourage me to work hard in the future. You know, when I go to university, when I start medical school, I'm going to work my backside off because I know how hard it was to get there. You know, so if you don't get there the first time and you do have to sort of, you know, knock down and jump hurdles, I think when you do get there, it will be significantly better for you, because I think you'll just appreciate it a whole lot more.